Coming up on this program, we show you how to get connected. Find out how to choose an internet service provider. Discover the newest form of communication, electronic mail.
Ways down and ready to ride.
Doesn't it look red there? I thought my lipstick was off my face. I was like, well, we're going to find out when you go live, Pays. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you've had a good day. It's Tuesday, Taco Tuesday in some parts of the world. TPO Tuesday in this part of the world. And we are ready to get going. We are going, Vicky, the colors never stay on this, or to the next screen. I'm glad that you had a nice day, Vicky. That is awesome. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Thank you so much. I had a nice day today too, part of it. Part of it I had a plain old bad day, to be frank with you. But I'm reframing my thought process, and I've decided not to be upset. So, imagine that. Which is a great thing. I think it's honestly because I ate. Oh, fuck. Anyways, so now let's watch a little bit of court. We're going to go back to Thurston County. We've got some more TPOs that we can watch, that we didn't watch yesterday. There's a few more in the mix, I think. And so why don't we do that? Shall we? Lobby, lobby, lobby. Where is it? Where is that? Sorry. Run away, run away, run away. Thanks, Beverly. Christopher.
This will be the protect.
You are so sweet, Christopher, and welcome, Mario. That is so exciting. Thank you, Christopher. I hope you are well. I hope December is treating you good. Oh, we all go nuts every once in a while. Anywho, hold on, sorry. Christopher, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Streamlabs, thank you for showing up today. I appreciate that. I'm like, my wrist is sore. A hair elastic. You ever have a hair elastic on your wrist and then you think, that's been on there for too long, and my wrist is now without, or my hand is without, I don't know, feeling and love. Anyways, let's just get started. Maybe I'll tell the story in a little bit. Depending on what these people go through. If they go through a bunch of petty shit, maybe I'll tell this story. If it's serious, maybe not. Hi, Shane. Hope you are well, too. Let's go. Oh, your guys' colors. I love that. You care.
Cases in which temporary orders have been issued, but this time I'm going to start with the Bouchard and Schreiber versus Harris matter. So, Mr. Drury, are you all set?
I am, Your Honor.
All right. And Mr. Harris, would you mind having a seat up here at the table? And that way everybody can hear you, and we'll record your voice.
Yes.
All right. This is number 24-40.
Christopher, welcoming another member. Thank you so much, Chris. And hello, Sean. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nobody on this screen looks happy. I look happier than they do. Put on a brave face. Put on a brave face. The lipstick helps, though. None of them are wearing red lipstick. Not a fair fight. I do look very pale today. It's pouring rain here, by the way. It's been pouring rain for like 24 hours straight. Some of you may not believe that, but it's just solidly been pouring rain. And that literally dampens everything, including my mood.
Okay, so Mr. Harris, are you ready to proceed this morning?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Drury, are you ready as well?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll start. Well, I see the Schreibers and that Schreiber and Bouchard are also here, and so I'll swear all the parties in and we can get started. So can I have the parties raise their right hands, please? Do you each swear that the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Yay, Chris again, and then MB coming in with 10. You guys are amazing. What a lovely thing to do in this season of giving. Giving new members an option. That's so sweet. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Also, I'm sorry to attorney Drury Bouchard that I paused it on that. I feel bad for him. That was a bad pause here. Also, I was like stuck in the middle of what to do. Because my brain was like, pause it. But my other brain's like, you're taking the oath, Paisley. Take the oath. Thank you again, Chris and MB. You guys are amazing.
All right, Mr. Drury for the petitioners.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call Andre Bouchard as a witness, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, Mr. Bouchard. Mr. Drury will ask you some questions. Go ahead, Mr. Drury.
Thank you. Mr. Bouchard, do you know the respondent in this matter?
Yes, he lives a block and a half away from us on Division Street for the last around 4 years.
And have you measured in any way the distance between your home and his home?
Yeah.
Does anybody recall the tape measure case from last year? Oh! Christopher Engelby super chatting. You are amazing. I love you too. Woo! Yay! Oh, my mood is significantly brighter. I am so thankful, you guys. Does anybody remember that the tape measure case where somebody measured out on it was a TPO case in Thurston. I don't know if I covered it or if it was on Credence and Mikey, but I remember there was pictures with tape measures, and if I recall. Thank you again, Chris. That's awesome. Everything is awesome.
Yes, it is 545 feet according to Google Maps.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like you to turn your attention to October 6th. On that day, did you happen to come into contact with the respondent?
Yes, sir. I was bicycling with my 8-year-old daughter, Callista Bouchard. We'd just taken her training wheels off. We were taking a bicycle ride around the neighborhood. And we were proceeding southbound, nearing the corner of Fern and 17th, about 2 blocks away from our home, maybe 3. And we noticed Mr. Harris pass us on the in the incoming lane of traffic, and his SUV.
Baby. Interruptions, these are not interruptions. These are gifts. And they're humbly received. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are so sweet. I really appreciate that, Chris. And I'll stop the video all night long. But seriously. Also, are you smelling petty? That might just be me.
We thought no more of it. We continued along one more block. And I was, as we were entering the intersection for 17th and Division, I saw Mr. Harris in his SUV, the same one, proceeding at a high rate of speed. In the span that we went one block, he had gone 7. He circled a 7-block area.
Streamlabs? Yay! Thank you, Shane. Oh, I thought we were broken there for a second. I thought, what? No, it can't be. But coming in clutch. Thank you so much. Also, you're bicycling with an 8-year-old who just had their training wheels taken off. I'm not sure what the correlation could be between how fast you go and how he's managed to go 7 blocks. That doesn't surprise me at all. That's not a good measure. Right? Am I right on that? I don't know. That's what I feel. Thank you again, you guys.
To come at us in his SUV. He was honking his horn loudly, or as a horn goes, sounded loud. I yelled for my daughter to get off the street. Mr. Harris, about a year and a half ago, threatened to run my kids over in his vehicle in a separate incident. She ramped up on the side. I had stopped on my side of the street, and he passed me, and I was stopped on my bicycle on my side of the street, so close that I could feel the wind off of his vehicle, all while honking his horn. I was very angry at that point in time and yelled, "F you, man," because this is just the latest in dozens of incidents that he has chosen to go out of his way and harass me and my kids and my wife. And yeah, and then we called the police. I walked my bike onto the sidewalk. I walked with my daughter home, and we called the police and we filed an incident.
Thank you. And that day, did police come into contact, as far as you're aware, with the respondent?
Yes, sir. The police officer asked if it would be helpful for them to go to Mr. Harris's house and ask him to stop his behavior.
I am getting a little weird vibe here. Like, if you were attacking children, then wouldn't the police be quite interested to, like, follow up on that if they believe that? And where did that sigh come from? Also, Christopher, I was trying to highlight your comment as well, which said, I need a necklace, which is true. And, John, is that Walgreens? I'm guessing it is. I'm glad that the doctor's helping you a little bit, but we're here for you. And if this really happened, though, can't we just, I mean, I feel like the police would be interested in that. Even the least interested police people might be interested in that. You know? You know? I can't wait to see this sighing guy.
I had asked Mr. Harris many times in the past to stop, to leave us alone. Uh, and I said, I don't know. I told the officer that I didn't know. It may escalate things, it may not, that I would rely on the officer.
That might have something to do with Canada Post. We haven't had mail delivery in almost 2 months, has it been? Maybe end of, or when, how long has this been? But I thought I haven't ordered off of Amazon recently. But that sucks if that's true. I'll try and look at it. They returned to work? Did it end today? Oh my god. They did. They're back at work. I don't think it's in time for Christmas, though. I don't think anything's gonna go. Anyways, back to the case at hand, Paisley. I'll look at the Amazon thing later and see if it's my fault. Maybe Amazon Daddy's mad at me.
Judgment. The officer, I think, did visit Mr. Harris later that afternoon and asked him to cease his behavior of stalking, harassment, and threats.
Thank you. Now, you mentioned he came so close during that incident that you could feel the wind off the car.
Yeah.
You know, is it possible that, you know, he's just driving fast and that incident had nothing to do with you, or did it appear that he was directing this activity towards you?
So the only way to have circled around to us was to go 3 blocks, for him to go 3 blocks up 14th Avenue, turn right, drive another block down 14th, take another right, drive 3 blocks south. If he wanted to turn around his vehicles for any reason, there was the alley that the HOA owns in behind his house. They could have turned around and he could have saved time in it. So there's no logical reason why he would have been around the block again. It wouldn't save him time or anything like that. So I can see no reason why he would have just been driving 7 blocks out of his way for really any reason.
Was there any obstructions in the road that forced him to come so close to you?
No, there were no cars parked nearby. My daughter was on the sidewalk around the time that she ramped up on the sidewalk. She's 8. We just took the training wheels off her bike.
You also, in the petition, mentioned an incident that occurred on, I think, the next day. Can you describe that incident just briefly?
Yes, sir. So I was in, there's a empty space in between the Division and Fern. I was playing ball with my dog on a long leash, and Mr. Andy was driving, turned in and was driving northbound in the alley adjacent to that. It's an alley that's owned by the homeowners association. And he rolled down his window, slowed down, glared at me, and said, "Fucking punk," loudly at me, and then drove off.
Was that the end of that incident?
I called the police again afterwards.
You mentioned in your early testimony that this type of activity on the roads has happened other times. You know, over the last year or year and a half, how many times would you say you've had similar incidents like this with the respondent?
There have been 6 incidents since last March. I would think probably about a dozen in the last year and a half. We haven't called the police for all of them, but rest assured that I would rather be doing other things with my time than calling the police on a neighbor. My mother passed away on October 16th, and she was in hospice for weeks before that. This was not a distraction that I wanted in my life. I would have rather lived and let live.
And as far as how these incidences have impacted you, what has, if any, been the impact for you and your family?
We've changed how we don't walk in our neighborhood nearly as much anymore. We used to do family walks together, me and my wife and our two children and our dogs. We don't walk by down his block of division. So we go considerably out of our way to get home every day. Um, and recently we bought a mobile camera that we can wear, and we don't leave the home since this last set of incidents without that and on, because we are genuinely afraid that he's going to try to run one of us over or play chicken with a 2-ton SUV with us. We haven't gone out. Like my daughter's wanted to go out on her bicycle, but she's been too afraid to. Um, yeah, it's changed our patterns of moving. It's changed the way that we, enjoy our neighborhood. Um, and yeah, it's just laid a cloud of fear over our lives.
Thank you. And Your Honor, if I could just take some brief testimony from Ms. Schreiber as well.
Sure. All right, Ms. Schreiber, Mr. Drury's going to ask you some questions.
Ms. Schreiber, you've had the opportunity to hear Mr. Bouchard's testimony. Have you had recent similar type incidences with the respondent, Mr. Harris?
Yeah, I mean, after the October 6th and 7th, I went out on my weekend. It was Indigenous Peoples Day and the day before that. And both times Mr. Harris was circling the block and I was walking the dog and he pulled up and he started to stare at me while the car drove and I walked till I got out my phone and then he went away. I mean, I've had countless experiences where we've been walking down sorry. He followed me down the block one day when I was walking my dog and I turned right onto, I always get the streets messed up, but his street is Division, whatever the one is there, 15th, I think.
14th.
15th.
Okay, 15th.
And I turned right on 15th and he followed me down the block and he told me to ask me what was up with my husband. And then he told me that he was watching us and that I'd better watch out. And I just was walking my dog.
Okay.
I mean, on an incident where we didn't call the police, he sat in the alley while my kids were out this summer and he stared at us like from the alley. I had to bring the kids inside.
This incident where you're walking the dog, I mean, you mentioned his vehicle. Is the vehicle just driving by you,
No,
or
it's slowing down.
is it
The
keeping?
vehicle keeping pace with me walking my dog till I get out my phone to try to record it. That's why we got the GoPro, because all of this is I don't have time to pick up my phone, hit in my passcode and like hit record with like my dog on the leash.
You mentioned a GoPro. Why?
It's a portable camera that we have it on a lanyard and you can hit play, like you can record as you leave the house. So it just records around my neck.
Did you purchase that regarding these incidences, or is it just a?
Yeah, we purchased it after the Indigenous, like the day that weekend, the Indigenous Peoples Day, because after the police came to Mr. Harris's house on October 6th, he filed a court order that an anti-harassment suit on us, and it was false and it threatened my kids with the system. I mean, it was dismissed in the court, but after that, we realized that the ante was raised and we needed to protect ourselves, at least with video footage.
And that's, I guess, my point. Did you buy the GoPro because of Mr.
Yes.
Harris' behavior, or was it just something you bought?
No, we bought it specifically for Mr. Harris's behavior.
And this type of behavior where he's slowing down and keeping pace with you, staring at you, how many times has that happened? More than one time?
Yeah. We don't call the police every time for that. It happens on a regular basis when I mean, these incidents happen in clusters. But when we avoid him to the best of our capability. I have to walk the dog. I sometimes like to take my kids out on walks. We try to avoid it. But yeah, it happened.
Search for Spock makes a good point. Like, I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. You don't fuck with my kid. Right? Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. Hi Donald. Hi Spock. Sherry's here. MB says the tables are turned.
Nearly every time that he's out in our vehicle and we're walking, either it's stopping and staring and leering, or it's speeding up. On the October 6th incident, he had passed me and my son walking our dog, blaring his horn, like going really fast down. I mean, every time we see him in the vehicle, there's something that happens.
When he's engaged in this, is it possible in your experience in the moment that there's another reason? For example,
No.
he's slowing down for,
No.
street crossers, or does it appear to be directed at you?
It's 1000% directed at us.
And the same question I asked Mr. Bouchard, how has this activity by Mr. Harris impacted you?
I mean, beyond the fact that my kids are terrified and I don't let them out the front of my house. We never drive past his house. We drive blocks out of our way because, like Andre said, the neighborhood's in a loop. So it's a closed system. You have to drive around. We drive around one way or the other. We drive out of our way. We don't walk. I never walk the dog past his house. I always go down the alley. I've had to tell the babysitter to not let the kids outside when I've been stared at and leered at when he's outside stalking the neighborhood. The kids don't get to go outside. They're 8 and 6.
And you filed, as part of your petition, a declaration of Kim Newland. Can you just briefly tell who that is?
That's our neighbor, and that's our neighbor 2 doors down.
Okay. So she's also in the neighborhood there.
Yes.
Okay. And I also note that you filed various incident reports and police reports regarding some of these incidents.
We did that because in 2023, after he threatened to kill my kids twice with his car, the judge dismissed our case and said that we needed to provide more evidence. And so one of the ways they said to do that was to create incident reports because they couldn't. And in that incident, that was after the incident that one of them where Mr. Harris got out of his car and was screaming at my husband. And he said he wouldn't stop his car if he saw my kids in the street. And then he circled the block again that time to tell us the same thing. And that's when we filed our initial.
After that incident way back then, do you feel that a court order that this, if the court were to just tell Mr. Harris to stop this, but no court order, do you feel like that would improve your situation at all?
I mean, the court order is what we have on our side to be able to protect us in the event of, like, this has been escalating since the day that he stood naked in front of his window my first day that we moved into the neighborhood and yelled at me for my dog. I mean, this is the only lever that we have. He almost just hit my husband with his car. The next time he's going to hit my husband with his car, my husband's going to go to the ER and they're going to say, why didn't you get a protection order? Or he's going to go up next to one of my kids and my kids are going to make a bad decision because they don't behave like adults. I mean, it's going to escalate, and this is the only lever we have. And we will still walk with a GoPro. That won't stop. I don't feel safe walking around the neighborhood, but this is the only thing we have in the system to support us.
All right. Thank you for your testimony. I think that's all I have, Your Honor, with the petitioners.
All right. Anybody else that you want me to hear from, or shall I hear from Mr. Harris?
I don't have any other witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Mr. Harris, let me hear your side of it.
Well, Your Honor, when I hear them say this, of course, I'm willing to do.
All right. Is this what we thought he looked like? I thought we were dealing with a much older person than this. Guys looked younger than I thought. Now, did I put him on the thumbnail? Yeah. Did I remember? No. So there's that. I just feel like I don't know. Also, where I live, if you're at the hospital and they discharge you with a prescription, they give you enough medicine to last like the night when you leave. And then you can go get your medicine the next day. Because pharmacies used to be open 24 hours. They're no longer open 24 hours. Thanks fucking COVID. Anyways, bruh. Don't threaten to run over kids. Don't be a dick to kids. Seriously, I'm not joking you. If I came upon this situation in my fucking neighborhood and Bucko McFuckface over there was being like an asshole to the kids in the neighborhood, you don't think I'd step right the fuck in? I get in so much trouble for doing that. But I do. I would. I always do. He needs to just be dressed down and not physically, because that's not legal. But I certainly can make a scene. Anyways.
Do whatever it takes to make them feel comfortable. But there is another side to the story. I've owned my house for 20 years and never had any problems with to this extent. As far as when I got this court appointment, I went and spoke to a couple of the neighbors to see, what was going on. And I'm finding out they were asking for a petition against my driving like 3 and 4 years ago, when some of the people entering the neighborhood, their neighbors directly beside them. I don't like to try to stick to the facts, but they said I turned on their water one summer and just really making me into someone that we're pretty busy. We have to drive past their house because 2 doors past their house, I submitted a video. When you go two doors past is my entrance to get behind the property. There's been a couple times where she was leering at me, and when I turned, I was in the Marine Corps, I noticed my surroundings, and me and my wife actually thought they were really weird. But they're so worried about my criminal history from 20 years ago as they submitted it. Means nothing. I don't have anything against kids. They've definitely upped the ante into threats that I don't even speak to these people, and I definitely ignore them. There's so much here. I knew he had driven. I submitted it. He's bashing me on my drive, and I go down the street and I look at the speedometer. If I have a brand new car, a brand new diesel truck to drive down there 25 mile an hour to get.
Humble brag. I got a brand new diesel truck, bitch. Did you hear that? Fucking diesel. I can't wait till somebody's like, I got a fucking Cybertruck. It recorded the whole thing. Oh my God. Every time I pause, his hands are out. Chum, chum, chum. They are a little weird, but you know what? So the fuck am I. Do you know what my neighbors would report about me? She puts on really bright lights and talks very loudly to seemingly nobody for hours at a time. And all we hear is court. Just like judges and shit.
to my property, just coming home from the dealership, he would have some antics. And then they're talking about another truck in what they submitted, spinning tire. Diesel trucks aren't really spinning tire. This Land Rover, I was selling it for a friend. I had it one day and I was selling it. And I went around the neighborhood. I have a couple witnesses. I didn't even speak to him. We went around the neighborhood once and came to the stop sign. We came to the stop sign. He came in front of the car and said, "Fuck you, man." And to be honest, we laughed because there was a guy jumping in front of the car, acting dramatic and everything else. I regret even laughing. We drove away. Wasn't close to him. I even brought the witness in that was in the car. Me, my wife, and well, most of the neighborhood know. And the craziest thing is, this is what's unsettling for me. I'm a lot into safety at work. So when I look at the neighborhood, I had talked with the HOA, which is totally dormant, but there's all these blind corners in these little alleys. So I actually was the one that got the signs in that said wrong way when you enter. That way you wouldn't drive straight in. The end of the street, they're doing like 40 down the street. It's 25. So I went and called the city because a kid played in the corner. This was like 8-9 years ago, and put the stop sign in. So what I'm getting at is you can't appease these people by driving 25. I drove like 12 mile an hour in a Nissan Leaf, and no one wants to write anything against them because they're definitely different. But they always have their kids. 4 years ago when they moved in, their kids were so far away. Even my wife had said, not good parenting having these little kids so far away. So when I would drive by them in my dark diesel, they would look at me like I felt so weird. It was just the look. And you're just driving like 8 mile an hour trying to get around the turn. So now I see, and it was like 3 years ago because their neighbors started growing their grass green. We would talk about the lawn. I went over there after I had seen them at the roundabout in my wife's car. And I knocked on the door and I seen the guy, Andre. He walked in the back door, went out the front. And just a smaller kid, he's like, "We're going to go for a walk, but there's a bad man on the street." They're so worried about my criminal history 20 years before. It has encompassed them. So I know this to be true. Many people on the street know this to be true. But the last thing I would like to do is to come in here and say, I have nothing about kids. Anything, I mean, in my life, having anything against the kid is the worst thing ever. So just hearing that doesn't make me, and that's why when I talk about harassment, when I look at all I call them nuisance calls, the glaring, the sneering, all this other stuff, it's like, you got to take a couple deep breaths. I mean, just to see that I'm in my 50s. I have a nice property. I take care of my place. And then I even did a volunteer group because there was no HOA where we painted the curbs that were coming up from the street was buckled there as sidewalk. So it's just like, even the guy that did the volunteer work, and I had to do printouts, hand them out. We did this like 4 years in a row right before they came. But it's just, they're in the way of the road once. And I said one time, you could keep your kids out of the street. They're impeding the road. But of course I'd stop for a child running out, but they didn't even look. That was a couple of years ago. But, and then it's not that they have to be perfect, but when I look at the submission of the only declaration, they changed the date. If you look at the police report, they changed the date to get a little closer. And then out of the blue, Andre's trying to run to get on the board, which HOAs are known for being harassing if you wanted to be. So I was like, there's nothing going on except for that one incident where I drove. You can't even drive the car around the neighborhood. But, if they have witnesses, I have a witness that I brought that was in the car. I submitted and then my wife, she's the one who wrote that they were bad parents. because we see the kids just everywhere. And, you know, even when I knew they were doing or you drive down the street and there is Tracy holding the dog back from jumping out in the street because he's not the most disciplined dog. I don't have a disciplined dog either. I carry him around because I worry about him. But it's just the point is, and I pulled up you from now on out, now that I know that they're in such fear of their lives, which I don't believe. I think that this will never end. That's people's comments that'll never end. But I wouldn't even look or laugh because they really want you to pay for not for saying you could keep your kids out of the street. They've blown it out of proportion. And the accident that he had, he was going so fast in the alley across the street. He beat me to a pulp on my drive. And when you look at the incident report, he totaled out 2 cars in the shortest alley. It says injury to the 2 kids, 6 and 8. Injury, he hit the car. He's jumping across the alley. I don't drive in their alley. I don't walk on their property.
This is fucking hilarious. I'm sorry, but like, if I was expecting crazy. This is not crazy. I mean, I don't think he would run over the kids. I really don't. I'm believing what he's saying. He's super annoying. He's that neighbor that's annoying. I think he owns a car business or something. He's talking about all the different cars, and he probably drives down there a lot, probably fast. But I love that he's bringing up the other bros. I always watch the chat, John. I'm always watching the chat. But he's just off on a tangent. All of these witnesses are not going to... I mean, I guess they might let them testify, but they probably won't need to. I don't think this is... I don't know. We'll see what happens. This is like Neighborhood Wars, except only one side, and the guy, like, thinks they're coming to him to interview them about the 2 neighbors fighting, and he doesn't even realize they're fighting with him. That's the vibes I'm getting.
I would avoid their place. I always thought it was odd and kept complaining in everything that I asked. They come out of their alley and they've got 3 ways to go. If I went and spoke to the HOA president, you see Tracy hop in her car, she goes and drives behind the house. My house, because all the properties have, it's like on the alleys in Olympia, all the alleys would connect, and it shows there in the plot map. We all share access to that alley. And I'm like, wow, if I back out of my garage, last thing I would want to do is back into one of these people crying bloody murder. I mean, so I was like, I don't understand if why they would be on my property. And previously, you know, my wife had almost got hit by him. We're not into the petty stuff. But he looked inside the fence holding the dog. And I'm like, my wife has plants. You're looking inside my fence as you're walking by. This was like 3 years ago. I don't want you near my fence. So, I seen something. Now I find out now he had been trying to petition for my drive and acts as if I'm this forever. There's no statute of limitations. I'm the forever bad guy. And, you know, telling people I turned his water on, or, you know, he comes by the house. If he did call the cops, he'd come by the house. The cops are coming. They can't wait to get you. And he has a little bit of a lisp. So, of course, I'm not the perfect person, but let me tell you what, I am not harassing.
Okay, first of all, I don't think either of them knows that he has a lisp. Did he have a lisp? I'm sorry. I'm not making fun of his lisp. I'm like, he doesn't... They looked at each other like they were perplexed. Oh, bro. What is happening? What is happening?
These people in any way. I'm going down to my spot. I'm turning right. I'm going in there, and I would never walk or drive down their alley. And then when I drive in other alleys, this has been my complaint in my neighborhood. The alley goes to your house for entrance to your garage. If you totaled out 2 cars in that alley, I would prefer he wasn't in my alley. So that's, you know, as far as not driving in their alley, if they wanted to pick a certain way to walk, and, you know, if I just stayed to my street and they walk the other, I'm willing to work with them, just because if, and a GoPro would be the best thing, because I think I need forward cameras, because they like to change what I hear.
Okay. All right, Mr. Harris, I think this is getting a little bit kind of off track here, and you're getting a little bit repetitive. So why don't you just sort of bring it to a conclusion?
I am at an end. I'm just saying, that's how I think.
Okay.
Do I get to show the witness of the day that they said that I did all this?
Is that I can't open it right now. Is that the person who filed the declaration? The
Yes,
one
sir.
who was with you in yeah, I reviewed that. That's already in the record.
Well, I brought him here if you have any
He
questions.
doesn't have to, unless he's
Just
gonna.
nothing's going on but the rent.
Okay. All right, Mr. Drury, you want to sum it up for the petitioners, and then I'll let Mr. Harris sum it up for himself.
Of course, Your Honor. I guess I'll just go with, are you asking for concluding statements or further testimony, Your Honor?
Concluding statements.
Thank you. This is not a matter about speed. I mean, certainly my clients are concerned about the level of speed that Mr. Harris seems to use coming down the roads there, but we're not here to try to enforce traffic laws. What they've described, and I find it incredible that now Mr. Harris is saying, well, now that he knows that they're in fear, he's known this for months and months and months. This is classical stalking behavior, classical harassing behavior, where he is going out of his way within the neighborhood, whether it's utilizing speed to put fear into my clients and coming up next to them when there's no need to do that, or pulling up and slowly pacing alongside of them in their vehicles. And his answer to that is, well, it's not me, it's just them. They're doing these things, and I'm so surprised by all this. I'm a great guy. Well, he knows that's false. The police reports and the incident reports that my clients submitted verify that this and corroborate that this activity is going on, and he's been warned numerous times by both police, by previous actions, and he just will not stop. This type of activity doesn't have a lawful purpose. It's a course of conduct, and he's, for whatever reason, eerily focused on them, and he's just not going to stop. And they are really begging this court for an order to get this to stop.
All right, Mr. Harris, you want to sum it up from your side?
Well, just like I said, I found out just now over the years what they've been doing. I think it's petty, but at the same time, I didn't know it was to this level of this. I never spoke to the policeman. Policeman came down, said it was nothing criminal, and I wasn't there when he came down. I don't deserve an order because I'm not engaged. I'm just actually need an entrance to my property. And other times I've came in was just to get him to stop driving in my alley or filming me in the private property.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harris. All right, these neighborhood conflicts are kind of tough. Obviously you've lived together there in the same neighborhood for years, and
Denied. I can already tell by his tone. I think this will be denied now. Tough for me to tell you that you have to suss this out yourself, folks. Fucking sort it out. Or move. Preferably to the countryside without neighbors.
when this hearing's over and everybody goes away, you're still going to be neighbors. You're still going to be living in the same neighborhood, just like you have been. I tell people all the time, I can't give you a good neighbor. There's nothing I can do to give you a good neighbor. That's between you. you're going to have to figure out a way to live together in the same neighborhood peacefully. So what I'm looking at, I'm applying the law here, not doing anything else. So harassment's a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that seriously annoys, harasses, and is detrimental and would cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress, and which actually causes substantial emotional distress and serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. Now, of course, even in such cases, the anti-harassment order can't be used to suppress somebody's constitutional right to free expression, and it's not a law that's designed to deal with people who are just rude, overbearing, or obnoxious. In our normal, average, everyday lives, all of us have to deal with difficult people who are obnoxious. That's just how society works. There has to be that much of a thick skin out there to be able to deal with the kind of people that you ordinarily run into. So what I've been considering this, and this isn't an easy case to decide because I have to be mindful of the fact that, Mr. Harris has got rights. He's going to be coming and going from that neighborhood. An anti-harassment order is not a mechanism to, like Mr. Drury said, to regulate how people drive. So no matter what happens here, you're still going to see Mr. Harris, and he's still going to see you, and you've got to figure out a way to deal with that. So in this instance, I've heard enough evidence between the testimony of the parties, the declarations that have been filed previously, and I'm aware of the allegations that have been made in the prior petition by Schreiber and Bouchard and the prior petition by Mr. Harris, which the court heard, I believe, last week. That does convince me by a preponderance of the evidence that harassment is going on here. I think that that's a fair way to characterize what's going on here. So as a result of that, I am going to issue an order, but again, as I said, there are significant limitations to what sort of thing the court can order. When people come into a situation like this, I think they frequently expect that the court can make the other person disappear from their lives. And I think that I know Mr. Drury is a very reasonable attorney, and I expect that he's managed expectations here, but
what convinced him was their attorney. In this case, I think that this was an attorney coming through clutch. And maybe Buddy rambled too long. I'm a little bit shocked too. Interesting. So he was avoiding the eye contact in the courtroom. He was avoiding Mr. Jackass, whatever his name is.
I will issue an order that prohibits any contact or any stalking. But nothing about this order can prohibit or will prohibit Mr. Harris from using or accessing his own property.
Yeah, they might have had good exhibits, MB.
I want to say in our original order, we specified 150 feet because we were conscious of the neighborly relationship. Your Honor.
Am I able to drive down my own street from parked in front of my house to go to the alley?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not regulating the use of the streets out there. I understand the layout and geography out there, and as Ms. Schreiber said, it's a closed system.
Can I ask that they don't drive in my alley?
Not as part of this hearing. This is done correct.
I wonder if anything will happen. Also, last week was like a 15-minute docket. Seriously. It was 15 minutes. The whole docket. They're just furiously writing each other notes, eh? I love it. I'm fucking for it, but I love the flourish of a finish of a note. Look to see her reaction. But I'm for it. I'm down. Look at them. I like it. It's nice to see a couple on the same page. Even if it is in their weird attempt to distance themselves from a neighbor. Honestly, if your life was like this in your neighborhood, wouldn't you just move? Like, if you can afford a house there, you can probably afford a house somewhere else. I'm being totally serious. Your kids are young. If this happened to me 3 years ago when I first moved in, I would have just moved. And I lived in the same house for 20 years. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
All right, this order will be in effect for 1 year from today's date. And I'll file that with the clerk now. And Mr. Harris, since you're here, you'll get a copy of it right now. Otherwise,
Come to think of it, I had terrible upstairs neighbors 2 houses ago when my roommate and I lived together before, but were dating. And the people that lived downstairs had like 7+ kids, it seemed. I couldn't tell. They never were like, we never were introduced. They were the loudest people I've ever met, but it was also the cheapest house I'd ever been in. Like, cheapest built. You could just tell. You know when you can tell when a house is real cheap? Anyways, we just fought fire with fire. We would just blast music. Just fucking blast it. All the time.
is Mr. Drury, I think you know how to access the documents from the court file.
Of course, Your Honor.
After 12 months, does it get erased or what?
It doesn't, it's not in effect after 12 months. It ends. All right, Mr. Harris, there you go. There's your copy.
We need to avoid them, but I don't see how it's possible with today's date. But I appreciate your time yesterday.
You as well. Next, Deborah Rohrer. And I'm going to call both Kelly and
This case, I think
Randazzo.
We've seen already. We'll see once we see their
So
faces.
these will be cases 24-427 and
Yeah,
428.
Yeah, it's Joe Dirt's sister, Janelle Dirt, and she is a cat lady only. Anyways, so we'll zippity doodah through that situation. Oh God, that was last night. Then we'll go past these girls. Then we got more. Yeah. Yeah, we jumped around it yesterday. and now we're finishing it.
We're going to get you a hearing assistance
Okay.
device, Mr. McConkey. Yeah, just stand by a minute for that. In fact, I think we'll just take a brief recess while the court clerk brings that into the courtroom, and then we'll reconvene here in just a minute.
No, never.
But when you
I'll grab the judge.
There's so much movement behind the judge's chair. It seems so insane to me.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. McConkey, is that a little bit better?
Yes, sir.
All right, excellent.
Excellent.
Good. Want to make sure you could hear me. Okay, so I did have a couple questions I wanted to get resolved here
Yes, sir.
first. Okay, so I'm concerned because in your petition, you said that Mr. Hines lives on that property over there on
No, I did
Trosper
not.
Road. So he doesn't?
No,
Okay.
I never, no, never.
But when you say a squatter, what do you mean by that?
They're all over Olympia and they're all over Tumwater and they get on the neighbor's property. They've got trailers, they've got mobile home and on mine and everything. And I'd rather not even talk about it. I mean, but I never rented to him. I never leased to him. I never had nothing to do with him.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask him about it too. I'm going to ask
Okay,
him
yeah.
the same question. All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Hines, do you want to explain to me your relationship to Mr. McConkey's property?
My girlfriend was moved in and was to be his caretaker. I've known Mr. McConkey for about 1.5 years. He's known me. He lives in the front yard of the house I'm staying at. I'm not in a trailer. I'm not in a tent. I live in a house and his trailer is directly in front of my house. He filed for eviction. I believe the day before he filed for this protection order. So I know Mr. McConkey and he knows me just the same.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to let him go first and then I'll hear from you, Mr. Hines, and I'll make a decision. So can I have you both raise your right hands, please? All right. And do you each swear the testimony that you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. McConkey, go ahead.
He started cutting wood on the property there and I never leased to him. I never rented. There was 2 women living in that house and for 8 years, Linda lived in there next to it. But they got in the house now. He was not there at that time at all. But he started visiting or something in there. But then he was in jail for a long time because the kid went to the one, she got her boy in court, through court with a forged lease that I never signed that with them. But he was hanging around there, but those 2 women were in there. But that had nothing to do with he came around. And when he did tell me, he lived over in McCleary, Washington, with his divorcing wife over there. And I know they told me that. But
So what has Mr. Hines done to you that is harassment, that you think is harassment?
he is cutting wood. He's in and out, drives his car out in the back. He's cut over 1 acre of my wood, plus he's cut wood on the neighbor's property a little bit. And I think they stopped him, and they don't live on that. But then he came over and he's cleared over 1 acre of mine. And officer, I phoned up the police and they came and he hid in the bushes or something there. And they said there wasn't anything they could do about it. But Officer Stopper told me to come and get this order off. And he knows the situation very well.
Okay.
And he said to call each time he cuts to put it on the record. And I sit there, but he drives right beside my driveway going out in the back and cutting wood. You can hear him cutting back there with the chainsaw. he had to help her sometime. And then a couple hours later, he comes out, goes out down the street with a big load of cut and split wood. And he cuts every tree down, cedar, fir, everything. And it's well over an acre of our property we've owned since 1950.
Okay, I understand what you're telling me. All right, so you're saying that he's going onto your property unauthorized, that he's using a chainsaw to cut down trees?
Yes, sir.
He's cutting up the wood and hauling it away?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you haven't given him permission to do
No,
that?
sir.
All right, that's your property over on Trosper
Trosper
Road?
Road, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, is there anything I'm missing, or is that the sum?
No, that's fairly what it is, sir. I never rented to him. And he came later after, I think those women got into the house of Linda's house, and I don't want to bring that up.
Different issue.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
All right, well, let me see what Mr. Hines has to say about this, and we'll make a decision. Mr. Hines?
Yes, Your Honor. I have lived here on property for, like I said, a good year and a half. I have cut down no trees on Mr. McConkey's property. I am aware that trees have been cut down, but when the police came and talked to me, I've talked to the police in person, and they have also given me a phone call. Officer Smith had just contacted me sometime last week, and we had a decent discussion. I have cut down no trees on Skip's property. I do go and collect firewood from places that I'm allowed to be on, and I cut them so they're short enough to fit in the truck of mine, and I bring it back to the property so I can burn. We have the wood stove to provide heat, and that's all we have here at the house. Like I said, I've cut down no trees. Mr. McConkey sees me with the chainsaw, but it is not his wood. I have cut down no trees, and none of the firewood I have burned came from this property. And I said the same thing to the police officers that called and the ones in person.
So, Mr. Hines, where do you live?
I live on his property on Trosper. I've lived here for a year and a half with my girlfriend.
On his property?
Yes. We actually, there's proof that I was here. There was a police report that when Skip broke into our house, I called the police, and there was the police department came out, and that's all on file. So, I mean, I've been here a year and a half. And even the court papers or the police reports that were given on that time, my girlfriend was on a lease here, and that I was staying here with her and have been since she moved in.
All right, well, Mr. McConkey just got done telling me that you don't live there on his property.
There's police records of me calling the police when he broke into our house. Her son's birthday of August of last year. And my name is on the police report. I was the one that called the police. There's everybody here that lives here on the property would say that I've been here. I moved in the same time she did, and she does have a lease. And he was aware of me when she first moved in because I was here helping her move in.
All right, I want to go back to you a minute, Mr. McConkey.
Yes, sir.
So he's telling me that he lives on that property with his girlfriend. Can you explain your point of view on that?
Sir, you're getting into another issue. When he's saying he called the police, his girlfriend through Linda lived on there 8 years. She was in the hospital. She was coming home on Tuesday. This was on Thursday. I was over putting her new oxygen machine that they brought. I opened the door. She had no lease on that property. But Linda did, and Community Action Council paid me 5 months rent in advance for Linda on that property. I held it. There was no reason that I would change over and put them into my house willingly or sign a lease. I signed no lease. They had none. they told the police they had a lease on that. Now I'm bringing up a whole bunch here and if they have a lease, they told the police that the police have to see it. And he says, do you have the lease to her? She said, yes, I do. And he said, well, let me see it. Well, Skip stole the lease and all my jewelry out of the house. She was there applying to be a caregiver for Linda, along with two other women. And Herman was taking the applications, not me. And she would never be a caregiver for me. I wouldn't have her if you'd seen her, where she was owed $2,200 out at the motel there. I found out afterwards that they finally got her out of there with the other two women that moved in on me. And they told the police, put her in that house and let her go in, and took me to jail and put me in the insane asylum at St. Peter's for a week and a half. And all that happened to me. And I'm a 93-year-old veteran, and this bunch of them are, and he wasn't in there. He said he had a house over and was gonna get it from his ex-wife when they sold the property that her family owned that.
McCleary.
In McCleary, yes, sir. And there's more to it than that. I kind of helped them and everything, or the two women, but they got into the house, and it's been, you ought to see that house today. And when Linda was to live there, it was perfect. And she paid the rent, and Linda and Herman and I were all very happy there. But when the police said, let me see that lease, she said they stole it. Okay, if I stole that lease, then when she got her, the boy came from California for the visit that her father, or the father of it, brought him up for the week visit. She went to Herman, and they came to the judge here, and the judge said, yes, I'm going to give you the son, and I'm going to give you child support. So Herman, she came into the court here, and the judge says, well, I'll give you the son. Do you have a place to live? She said, yes, I have a lease, Your Honor, a 2-bedroom house. And that was right after she got in there, a week or two later. And she went out and came back and showed the judge a lease that's forged. There was no lease in the first one. If I'd stolen the lease, the day the police asked me, would I give her another lease to come up here? And would I go, the city cut $4,000 worth of water off on me. So she didn't have any water. So she got a free attorney, came up before Judge Zinn and told Judge Zinn that I cut the water off, and Judge Zinn gave her $100 a day. I owe her $6,000 for having the water cut off. And they went over, and now it's automatically turned back on according to the city of Tumwater. And now I owe on it, I owe on all those other people on their electric. The Puget Power came and looked in the wires. They've got wires hooked up. Those are squatters. I've had enough of it. My family's been there good. I like what scholarships into Evergreen College. I donated the land for Trosper Road East, all of it. I grew up in the Tumwater Valley. We donated the damn golf course to the citizens, and I'm trying to put that property. I told them take it for their new community center. It's 15 acres of a property for a beautiful community center, a golf course, and everything. How much can a man do?
At this point, I have to say, the court can't resolve this dispute. The court doesn't have jurisdiction to resolve this dispute. Mr. Hines is raising the issue that he lives there. I can't make, I don't have the jurisdiction to make the decision as to whether he has the right to be there. If, as you say, he's a squatter, then that determination has to be made.
Well, I didn't say he's if I did, they're all squatters, Your Honor. There's two women in there. They've never paid me a penny rent.
They may be squatters, but you're in the wrong court. Okay, you have to go across the
Yeah.
sidewalk to the Superior Court and and if you believe
I
they're
know, it's
squatters,
thousands of dollars. I know all about it.
well, if you know, you know. I can't.
Well, where do I get the
don't have
thousand? I get $260 a month since 1960 with my military pension.
Well, Mr. McConkey, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but the law does not allow me to issue an order that would remove him from that property. I can't do it.
Go.
You can, if you'd like to.
Who's
He can
that?
get it any time, or if
Hey,
you want to
help
grab
him.
it for him, the clerk can get a copy pretty soon.
Am I free to go too, Your Honor?
You're good to go, Mr. Hines.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oftentimes, in my experience, the issue is that the legal process of eviction takes much longer than 30 days. If somebody chooses not to abide by it, it takes months and months, and sometimes upwards of a year, to go through what in my province is called the residential tenancy branch, or it's called different things in different areas. And basically what they do is mediate and then make decisions about only tenancy issues. Now, what the loophole has become for a lot of these squatters or people that are in situations is that the pipeline is so overloaded that it takes months and months and months and months and months of them not paying rent, this, that, the other, for them to get anything done. And so it can be really difficult. I feel terrible for that guy, but you know, renters protection is in place. It's just like unions. You don't need a union if you have a good employer. You don't need renter protections if you have a good landlord, but not everybody has those things, and I wish that this guy would go to the same legal aid that helped against him. But you can see how I don't know, if he really did get a $6,000 judgment against him for the water being turned off, it sounds to me like the system's working enough that they could get that to go through, so he should be able to evict them. Anyways, I hope that you guys had a wonderful time tonight. I did. Apparently Florida changed some things recently to make it easier to get rid of squatters, right? Something like that. But that doesn't deal with people that have, or is it the opposite way? It deals with people that have proper paperwork but not others. I don't know. Anyways, I hope you guys had a wonderful evening. Courtney, I'm sorry you just arrived late, but that's okay. I am I'll have a video out tomorrow. It'll premiere in the morning, and then, but there will be no live show tomorrow. Then Thursday, there will be a live show. So be excited for that. Thank you so much for being here. Ed makes a good point. He wants to donate the land. Donate the damn land. Also, I checked into the Amazon thing. It says they're having a problem fulfilling wish list items with third-party sellers, but they're working on it. So I don't know. I'm sure most of the stuff I picked is third-party, but I appreciate each and every one of you, and thank you for your gifts tonight. Thank you for checking out my Amazon wish list anyways. I love it. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Remember that I love you, and I'm proud of you, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye.
Ways down and ready to ride.